before I can do that, I just want to apologize for the technical glitches that I was battling, moving from my phone to my laptop. I hope you understand with the 5 minutes that I've stolen away from you. TD, may you please unmute and show yourself up on a video. I would like you to introduce yourself to the audience tonight. Give them your credentials of who you are as TD. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nomonde, for the warm welcome. My name is TD Monaledi. I'm a psychologist, and I'll leave it at that, a psychologist in private practice. Hello.
Thank you, TD, for the introduction. I'm glad we have a specialist, a psychologist in our midst, who even pick up on our blind spots this evening, because I know as human beings, we have the tendency to run with stuff that we do not understand, yet the people who are educated in that line could help us, direct us in a great direction. Nonhli, good evening. And how are you this evening?
I'm good, and you, Nomande? I'm well.
Great.
I'm well.
Are you ready to dive in? Please introduce yourself to your audience and just a snippet, a brief background of why we are here today.
Okay, my name is Nonhli Sipula, known as Nonhli. As I mentioned last week, there are topics that I feel that the society are not ready to talk about, and I am going through a personal journey, and I found that this is a platform where I can heal. And today it's a very topic that is, very, I don't want to say dear to my heart, but the topic that I'm battling with, and it is why we invited TD to help us go through this. So you are here to walk a journey with me and to help me to heal, and help each other actually to heal, because I'm not the only one who's going through this.
Okay. Great. You are receiving free therapy tonight. TD, I want you to tackle narcissism. What is narcissism? What it entails? Who has the authority to name and label me a narcissist? Can't hear you, TD. You are mute.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
we can.
All right. When we talk about narcissistic personality disorder, people who are normally clinicians or therapists are the people who have undergone some kind of training, and they are the only people who have the authority can diagnose that particular disorder. And normally, like any other profession, we would have our kind of guiding booklet, which we call the DSM-4 or DSM-5 now, which is a manual that helps us to be able to guide or to be able to identify certain types of disorder. So in a nutshell, you've got to be a professional who have actually trained behavioral therapy or have gone through some kind of formal, vigorous education for you to qualify to become a person that can have the power and the authority to diagnose. And normally, psychologists will do that, sociologists will do that, social workers will do that, or any other clinician within the mental health space. And as far as what narcissistic personality disorder entails, I'm going to just use Tepo as an example. Tepo would be a person who would walk into my practice, and Tepo would display certain kind of characteristics or certain kind of traits. And amongst a list of them, it would be one where Tepo will exhibit display a particular, grandiose type of self-importance, where a person would have this big need to show that she is important. Tsepo would also have a deep sense of wanting to be admired, to be appraised, to be applauded for all her achievements. However, Tsepo would also not have a sense of empathy. Tsepo would not actually acknowledge the emotions, the feelings, the thoughts of other people, because it will be all about Tsepo and what she believes is important. Further on, Tsepo would never ever acknowledge that she is wrong in any situation. She will always manipulate relationships that she gets into for her own personal gain, even if the behavior does not warrant that. So she will either manipulate or obviously twist things so that at the end of the day, whatever relationship she forms would actually benefit her the most. Further on, Tsepo would have a very strong sense of entitlement. Me, all the time. It's all about me. Tsepo would also associate with people that she deems important and have a particular kind of standing or hold a particular societal status, and believe that she can only associate with those type of people because her perception is that she is that important, and she cannot see herself relating with people who are not lower than her. That would be her twisted, perception. Further on, Tsepo would never be able to admit her own wrong mistakes. Tsepo would forever be wrong, no matter what. Also, she would forever realize that in dealing with these people, she would think that she is very unique and very special. Therefore, she would expect people to treat her as such. And failure for people to do that, she would either retaliate and become very nasty, very rude, very arrogant. And lastly, this type of traits would actually begin to show up at the early of, 18 years, young adulthood, because normally we would have to classify personality disorder from 18 years and above, because remember, your personality is not something that is static. So as a young person, you can never diagnose a person with that kind of disorder until they are 18 years and above. So those are the kind of traits that would kind of summarize what a narcissistic personality disorder looks like, or somebody like Tsepo who has those kind of particular traits.
That was a mouthful. My follow-up question, CD, with the narcissistic personality disorder, is it a question of nature or nurture?
It is a combination of that. From the research and the literature that we have explored, some of the reasons would be environmental. Environmental would be looking at issues like your upbringing. How has a person been brought up? And one of the characteristics would be a person has been brought up in a space where they were neglected, they were abused, they were never loved. And as a result, that would be something that they would now mimic. Because remember, when they display these kind of behaviors, it's a mask about insecurity. So all of these insecurities that they have actually, developed or experienced when they are young, they would tend to mimic them at a later stage. Genetics also plays a very important role. And it's shown that, either when you start talking to a person in a therapy situation where you want to find the origin or the epidemiology of that particular disorder, one of the things that we do is a very thorough intake, what we call a psychiatric evaluation, where I need to find out, Nomanda, where do you come from? What are the kind of personality traits that you possess? How were you brought up? How did your your grandparents, your parents, who else within your family has these kind of traits? Because it is also a combination, as you said earlier on Monday, it's the nature controversy. So it is a combination of the two. So we need to be really, as clinicians, be very careful to really explore that you do not, because one of the things that most of the time, Nomonde, and ladies and gentlemen, not excluding you, is that psychologists or clinicians are forever criticized for misdiagnosing people, because at the end of the day, the whole issue of labeling comes into the fore, which is not a topic for today, but I need to actually bring it to the fore that people get to be labeled about giving the wrong diagnosis. Hence, even last week, you were very careful to say we should not just use this term loosely without the authority to use it. And that is one of the things that most of the lawsuits that psychologists would actually be faced with would be issues of misdiagnosis. So you need to be really careful that your intake is very thorough. Thank you.
Oh, right. Thank you so much, TD. Yeah, I really appreciate that, because before we narcissize people, and with our history, where we're coming from as our people, I mean, the words like yoke, bipolar, it's played around without even understanding what it entails, or get stressed. I mean, not actually meaning the context of really being stressed, just playing with words and labeling stuff that's not actually what we all about, especially when you come to the professional part of understanding the terminology and the disorder. Can Nomonde be helped as a narcissist?
Definitely, Nomonde can be helped. There are two ways, and a lot of the times people would obviously go to a psychiatrist and see a psychiatrist. I'm not going to, demystify the value of psychiatrists and all of that, but I know that a lot of psychiatrists as well are labeled for giving people medication and overdose on that, for that matter. Yes, psychotherapy can work. Yes, medication can work. However, one needs to realize that with psychotherapy, it's going to be long-term therapy. It's not one of those brief, kind of intervention that one is willing to take. So you have to be prepared to actually understand the deep-seated root nature of a narcissistic personality disorder, so that you will be able to come to the intervention which is not short-term, or avoid issues of relapse. Because if we do undergo therapy and we assume that the type of intervention that we use is short-term, it will not bear the kind of results that we want. Because when you advocate for long-term therapy, you want to see a person healed completely. And prematurely, most of the people who go to therapy, they actually leave therapy before time, Nomonde. And that's when a lot of the times people would say psychologists do not help, social workers do not help, and all of that. Even when they go to psychiatrists, people would actually not be on medication. People will put themselves off medication. And these are the kind of things, because you as a lay person do not understand how psychotropic drugs work. Because for you to take medicine for a particular type of period, there's a reason, there's a rationale. But somebody who has not actually studied will not understand that. Because a normal kind of example is for a drug to work, let's say we're dealing with depressive episodes, you need to have at least 2 weeks before the drugs can kick in. So if you are Nomonde sitting there and you think that CD has actually prescribed these kind of medication because she wants to make money out of me, you will not see the benefit of the whole process. And hence, a lot of the times, people believe that psychotherapy does not work. Yes, in answering your question, narcissistic personality disorder can be treated.
Oh, thank you. Sidi, would nobody come to you willingly or as a narcissist, or are they conscious of what they are perpetrating?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They would, for one, they will never acknowledge that they are wrong. They will never acknowledge that other people's feelings matter. They will never acknowledge that they manipulate people. So one of the ways where they would actually really get help would be when they have reached the ultimate end, where at the end of it all, everybody has walked away from them. They do not have friendships. They do not have anybody to manipulate. However, because of their intrinsic nature of wanting to be the center of attraction, once they see that you have actually stopped engaging, because the issue here is how far do you engage with a narcissistic personality, a person who's a narcissist. Therefore, once they feel that they have lost their grip on you, Nomonde, they will go find another culprit, and the circle becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So they never run short of, the victims or the perpetrators rather, because for them, they have that kind of sense. It's like a demon that they need to feed all the time. So if they do not have somebody to pounce on, they are not healthy according to their own perception. Therefore, they need to continue having somebody that they can actually engage with and make sure that they cause a lot of harm into this particular individual.
Yeah, I'll come back to you, Tidi, with Nomonde not finding people around her. I would really want to drill into that. But before I could do that, I just want to go to Nonhli. Nonhli, if you could just unmute. What is your experience, Nonhli, in encountering this narcissistic personality disorder?
I've been listening to Tidi, and I made a few notes that when she said people can be healed from that. And I'm taking, because we're here to talk about my personal journey, that my mom, I don't see any possibility of her being healed. She's been like this for as long as I know her, maybe since I've been 13. It's where I recall, but I wasn't aware that she's a narcissist. So I'm trying to understand that how can a person heal if she's not aware that she's a narcissist? And I agree with everything that Sidi said, because I've experienced it. I still remember I discovered that she's a narcissist in 2013. I didn't even know the word narcissist. When I went for counseling, it's when I got divorced, because she was treating me very bad. And it was very hard for me to understand that really what kind of a mother can do that to her own child. So when I got divorced, actually, let me go back. Now, as I recall that she's always been a narcissist, but I didn't have a label and I didn't know what kind of a mother, but I always knew that something is wrong, but not in a way that it's wrong with her mental situation, or I thought she's a bully. I thought, in our layman terms, in Kasi language, we will say, me o usleche. I took her like, sure, she's a very bad mother, but I had no choice. And they instill so much fear in you that you can't go against them. I grew up, even my siblings used to even laugh at me, because I used to be so scared of her. When I drink wine, even where I was staying, not staying with her, when she comes, I'll hide it. It's how I was so scared of her. I still remember in 1997, I think, I had this boyfriend. We were so in love. Within 2 days, he proposed to me to get married. No, I'm serious. He proposed to get married to me. And I said yes. But when I went to my mom that this guy wants to get married to me, she hit the roof. She said it will never happen. And that guy was really, really madly in love with me. So what happened? He fought to pay lobola. maybe paid lobola after 8 months or so. I was still staying at home, but every day I didn't have peace. They'll tell me how that money will go back, that we will never get married. You know, they instill so much fear that they abuse you and you just feel like, let me do what they want to be done. Let me satisfy my mom. You feel like you owe her, you know, to do what she wants you to do. I had to take back the lobola. Yes, I had to call and say to my boyfriend, by that time it was my fiance, that you have to call your people to come and fetch the money. That is after a year. And even now, I knew that it was wrong, but I had to do what was right because I was still staying with her. When I left home, I made a vow that I will never go back home. I don't know where I'll go because of the abusive situation. How she used to hit me, how she used to talk to me. I'll do anything, like anything to please her. I'll go as far as thinking to believe that I can't live without her.
Okay, hold that thought. Tell me more with regards to when you complied and did what she did, how was the behavior from her?
A moody person, and you have to do what she says you have to do. Otherwise, she'll threaten you.
If you did what she says you should do, how would she react?
She'll threaten you. She'll threaten you. She'll tell you that I'm going to take you off my wheel. She'll make you to be so uncomfortable. Even the time before we moved to the suburb, while we're staying in Mamelodi, she'll make you to feel that you can't even touch her bread. It's her bread. You can't even eat. She'll hit you and tear off your clothes, strip you naked.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that. But so I was saying that when I discovered that she's a narcissist, it's in 2013. That was, I can't say that I thought it was my worst year, only to discover that no, you still going to have the worst year in 2020, 2020, 21, 22. So in 2013, when I got divorced, she didn't want me to divorce. Narcissists, they want people, they appear that they are the best and they don't want anything that is wrong to be known by the society. So she said, I can't divorce. What are people going to say? And for me, it was, at night, those people are not there. Those people are not feeding me. And she stopped when I went and started the divorce procedures. Then she stopped talking to me. She went as far as buying my ex-husband a car so that she can make me feel that what I did was wrong. I cried every day with my kids. She didn't want to see me. She was with my ex-husband until she realized that this guy was the one that was wrong and took back the car from that guy. So narcissists are like that. And okay. She had the power of money. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, we hear your experience of a narcissistic personality disorder. TD, I'm coming back to you.
Okay.
Yes. When I come back to you, you say these people, they realize their behavior when nobody sticks around. But why do they always have people around? Like friends, like husbands, like those people who are on their side?
Because they have to feed, Namunda, on the issue of self-importance. They have to feed on the issue of them being praised and being admired. They have to be the center of attraction all the time. You can never have a show without an audience. Therefore, they need to have an audience. And that's why they will forever engage in these multiple kind of relationships, either with their their children, their friends, colleagues, and all of that. So it's the need to always be that important, because for them, that's how they thrive, because their perception is that they are better than other people. And even in the example that Nonhli has, given, where she basically, by somebody that seems to be on the wrong with Nonhli, is to show the power. It's about power issues. It's about control. I can actually control you. And even in with their parenting style, remember, is their parenting style is so devious, in a sense that they perceive their own children as a threat. And therefore, once Nonhli becomes independent, the example of her getting married, it was an issue for her, because she knew that Nonhli was going to be independent. Nonhli was not going to be relying on her. Therefore, she wants Nonhli to live in her shadow. She wants to control her. You will not marry, you will not do this, I will take you out of my will, and etc., etc. Therefore, the need for her to control would forever be enormous, because that's how she wants to control and manipulate all the situations she can, that she finds herself in. So it's going to be a need all the time, a need for her to feel very important.
Wow.
Let me switch on my lights. People are complaining that they can't see me. Sorry.
Yes, we can't.
Sorry.
Yes, you have your lights on, CD. This narcissist personality disorder, is it a new school of in the psychology? Or when did this concept come about? Because when we did psych some donkey years ago, I never came across this one.
I think it's always been, like I said, when I opened, that personality is not something static. It's something that changes all the time. And remember, there's a need for research, there's a need for new development and all of that. But remember, back in the days that we evolving as human beings, therefore, it was always there. It's just that people were not exposed to it, because remember, now we have an ability to acquire things, we can acquire material things and all of that. And remember, as technology, Stone Age has finished, and now we're in the technology, things are now becoming interesting, and we realize that even human relations, is also important, because we are relational beings. Therefore, where human beings are, there will forever be dynamics coming out. So in answering you, it has always been a personality disorder as far as DSM-3 is concerned. But remember, every year or every 4th year, there is some kind of, improvement on what is happening. So it has now become a topical issue, because people are now seeing this kind of personality traits. I know a decade ago, we were all consumed by borderline schizophrenia. Everybody was more, preoccupied with those kind of personality disorder. But now you realize that there's a shift, and the shift is when people are now being exposed to acquiring material things, and relationships just being interesting, because as human beings, we have to relate all the time. So it's been there. It's just that it didn't get the attention that it is getting right now, because of the developments that are coming up.
Phoebe, when do I divorce a narcissist? As a parent, as a partner, or as a friend? When do I say I draw the line on the sand now? It's not going to continue.
For me, the first thing that one needs to do is to realize that a relationship is not healthy. I think for me, it's the time where you need to decide for yourself that, why am I in this relationship? Is this relationship healthy or not? But people are also trapped into the issue that this relationship is toxic. However, I cannot divorce this person because it's my mother. I know that Nonhli has said that before. But for me, before you can even define who you are engaging with, the first step that you need to acknowledge is that I am in a toxic relationship. and this toxic relationship should actually come to an end. So the first step is acceptance. And a lot of the times, like Nonhli said, all her life, she did not understand what this relationship was all about and how to define it, what it is that she can do about it, until, not so long ago, where she was empowered. And I'm sure it was through the encounter of a psychologist that she decided that this is enough. I need to actually walk out of this relationship. So I think the first step is acceptance. You've got to get to a point where you say, my relationship is toxic. Whether it's a relationship with your husband, your mother, your daughter, your uncle, your aunt, whatever, whoever you are engaging with, you need to acknowledge that to yourself.
No, thank you, Tidi, for that. Nonhli, if I come back to you, I'll come back to you, Tidi, with the process of really disengaging and detaching, and the withdrawal symptoms of having been in the narcissist personality disorder with that person. What happens? Nonhli, you are married now. The first one was not approved because a person now would lose control of you and can manipulate you at a distance. How did this one then survive the second, the marriage that you engaged in? How was it approved?
I forced, and I think because of I was pregnant, so it was approved, because people are going to say she's pregnant without getting married. So that is why it was approved. And I actually didn't even want to get married to that person, but I had to do it. I did it. So I did a lot of things that I think my life wouldn't be the way it was. And I allowed my mother to manipulate me. Even now, I'm still really battling to understand what kind of a human being is like that. I end up getting her a court order because she was manipulating me so much, or even sending me WhatsApp, swearing at me, midnight, around 2 a.m., threatening me, and I couldn't handle it. That was last year. And my kids were affected so much. She'll send even the police, come to my house and demanding the car that she bought my son. So what happened? Instead of her saying sorry, one thing about narcissists, they will never admit that they're sorry. They will never admit that they're wrong. So what she did also, because I used to do everything that she wanted me to do, she made it that I fight with my siblings to appear as if I'm the good one. So my siblings hated me because I'm the good one in front of her. So what she did, after we discovered that she bought my ex-husband a car and she took it away, after 2 years, that is 2015, she just came out of the blue. Instead of saying sorry for how she mistreated me and my kids, she just decided that she's buying my son a car, that tomorrow we're going to meet, I'm buying him a car. When she left, we were confused that, are we going to take this car or not? Because we know how she is, that the car might go away. She might threaten to take it. And exactly, we spoke for maybe 2 years. I went with her overseas. It was really a bad experience because every day I was reminded that I'm there because of her. Anyway, fast forwarding, last year, because I started feeling that I have to detach myself from her. And because she curses too much. Actually, we fought because she used to curse my sister. And I said, you're cursing too much. I don't like it. And we fought. So when we fight, she decided that she's going to take the car. She sent me SMSs that she wants the car back that she bought my son. But she's not telling my son because she wants to get to me. So what happened? I ignored her SMSs. I ignored her WhatsApp. She went and opened a case against me that I stole the car. Mind you, she never drove that car. The car never even once was at her place. And it was just a horrible experience that I even had to take my son that let's go and open a court order against her. You know, sitting next, like opposite to your mother in court, to get a restraining order against her because of her abuse. That's the worst thing that you don't want to experience. The way I was so scared of her, I'll even ask some of my friends when they will smile, because I once went with her to court. You know, I said, Monday, please start the car. I got an interim court order and she's going to kill me. Please make sure that when I come downstairs, I'm inside the car. It's how I'm so scared of her. Now, about a month ago, the car was taken. The police came 4 times with guns. I've got kids. They're experiencing all these things. And you tell me, I feel that I'm hurt that she robbed my kids a grandmother. She robbed me a mother. And I'm trying to understand that how do you sleep at night? Because not even a single day passes by that I don't think of her, that what's going through her mind. But yesterday I spoke to Tsidi actually, and she told me that you have to let go. I went to counseling, they said, you have to let go. I said, I'm battling because she's my mother. While we're in court, when I got the final court order, the 2nd of December, she looked me in the eye and said, you must never come to my funeral and you must know that you won't be in my will. So her will was always a con. She always threatened us. When we grew up, she used to say to us, if I didn't have kids, I'll be a millionaire. I would have money like Kefas in Soweto. By that time, I'm still young. I'm around 15, 13, 15. I don't even know what's Kefas. You know, and you just want to get out of the house. You just want to go to varsity and get your own place and pay back the money that she really brought you up with. It's how I feel that I owe her. I owe her.
Nonhli?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hugs, Sissy, are coming from the chat. It's hard to speak about what you're speaking. So Tsidi, let's go back to you, because today you really have to come through for people. The process now of detachment. Now there's no drama of going to court and the police and everything. It's quiet now. Your own mother or your partner that you've known for so long. How do I begin this?
I think, you know, the first step is going to therapy to understand, firstly, the personality traits or characteristics about the narcissist, have an understand how this disorder has evolved and the kind of impact that it has in your life. Once you have done that, you'll be given now skills as to how to deal with it. The first important step, once you have acknowledged all of that, the first tool is the ability to disengage. I know that, Nomonde, you've said that. That's the basic practical skill, because the more you engage with the narcissistic personality type of a person, Tsepo in this particular instance, you will not actually win, because Tsepo will never understand the pain that you are going through. Tsepo will not acknowledge the mistakes, the wrong, the manipulation, the control freak, and all of that, because Tsepo is operating from a point of need, a point of insecurity. And therefore, once you have those kind of skills, you'll be able to say, I am going to disengage. And disengaging, how does that look like? Firstly, you need to be able to say that you can never argue with this person. You can never disagree with them. Therefore, one of the first few things you know or you learn, or I teach people about how to empower yourself, is to say, I agree with whatever, without really engaging yourself or giving your opinion into whatever that person would be saying. However, you need to be very careful in terms of what you are agreeing with, because remember, the trait is that whatever that you say, this person is also going to use that against you at a later stage. For example, if Tebo says to you, I am a bad mother, and you say, yes, I agree with you, remember, she's going to use that with you at a later stage. Therefore, you need to be able to hear when somebody says that kind of, line of thinking. You should not be able to say, yes, I agree. If they talk about their emotions and you would say, you are entitled to your opinion, I do not disagree. You are entitled to your opinion. You also need to be able to say, I draw a line. Yes, you can negotiate. Like in the instance of Nonhli with the issue of a car and all of that, Nonhli should have just said, I will not negotiate with you unless there's a sense of respect. Once you negotiate, you draw those kind of boundaries, you will be able to protect yourself, because one of the critical things, like I said, is engaging. No matter how often you engage with a person, it's like you opening up, and this wound will not ever heal, because the wound, they can pour oil into it, they can pour salt into it, so you need to make sure that you do not engage, and by engaging you will accommodate them in saying, yes, it's your opinion, you are entitled to it, I will not do XYZ because my negotiation, my boundary is self-love, self-care. Therefore, Nonhli needs to know that these are some of the tools that she needs to have within her self-growth, self-development journey, to understand that the more she engages with her mother, the more she longs for these kind of issues. And until she gets to a point where she disengages completely, and that's when the narcissistic personality person would now break. And that's the point where they will now realize that, because they never acknowledge that they are wrong, but because they would not have that kind of a pawn, it's either they will die a lonely life, or then, reluctantly so seek counseling. But it will be the last step. It will not be something that they would necessarily be open to. It's not going to be a voluntary type of a process. So for Nonhli to heal and to be able to get back onto her 2 feet, she needs to know the first rule is, do not engage with your mother. Close all the avenues. And closing the avenues, I'm not saying do not talk to her. However, acknowledge her feelings, acknowledge that, when you see them, that, yeah, you don't love me, you don't do this, and you only just say to them, yes, I can see that you are upset, because you are talking about something that you see, something that you can relate to, but you are not saying, you know what, I am so sorry. No, I can see that this behavior makes you feel this way. For that, I'm sorry that you feel that way. But you are not saying, I am sorry, but you are acknowledging all the things that you are seeing. Therefore, it's more personal, in-depth kind of skill training that will help Nonhli to be able to really walk away from this relationship. And whether it's the mother or whoever, she will be able to heal. But like I said earlier on, you need to be committed to the process, because with therapy, it takes a while before you can get to the final result. It's not just a money-making kind of scheme. However, it's also depending on how the recipient of the process is receiving it. Remember, it's a very professional, sacred kind of relationship. And I know that Nonhli is also brave to have opened up, but obviously Nonhli would deserve, at the end of it all, a debriefing session, because what she's really sharing with us it's a can of worms, and no one can really be expected to operate functionally, optimally after this heavy session. Even yesterday when I spoke to her, it was a very heavy kind of session. And I also felt that I did not serve Nonhli very well, because I tried to do a debriefing session with her, but it was not enough. So she needs to be supported in that regard.
Yeah, no, we hear you, Tshidi, and yeah, I could hear that I know the process. I know the process she's in, at breaking points and, you know, relapses and many things that happen. I see Policy is asking that Disable asked at what point. Policy, we covered that lot, that at what point does a person cut off those people? Tshidi, maybe if you could reiterate it for Policy, just to understand, when do we say the line is drawn on the sand now? It's not going to happen.
Policy, I think the first thing is, once you have gotten to understand the behavioral pattern, the traits, and also understanding the impact of this behavior towards your own developmental journey or your growth pattern or your relationship, once you acknowledge and see that this is not serving you well, because you can never detach yourself or remove yourself from these relationships unless you understand exactly the root causes, how it has manifested, how it is impacting on you. Then you would be able to say, I can now draw a line, because you know exactly the kind of, you know, dynamics around the issues of narcissistic personality disorder.
You know, Tshidi, I had something very profound yesterday, but it was related to a conversation regarding sexual abuse, that a victim always a perpetrator. In this instance of a narcissist being brought up by a narcissist, or being abused, or being under control of a narcissist, is this true?
One of the issues that talks about the issues of causes of narcissistic behavior, issues of sexual abuse is very pertinent. So in answering your question, you will find that yes, there's abuse, neglect, there has been childhood trauma, and obviously sexual abuse. History of also substance-related abuse would also be one of the common elements within that. Yes, in answering your question, sexual disorder or sexual violation would also be part of the narcissistic personality disorder.
No, thank you for clarifying that. Disable, I'll give you an opportunity to ask your question. I see your hand is up.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I hope I'm going to be able to articulate myself, because I'm a little emotional. Nonhli, sorry about what you're going through. And I think the topic tonight also links to what we discussed last week on, is blood really thicker than water? Because if you think about it, narcissists in our lives, if it's work, you can look for another job. If it's a friend, you can just cancel a friend. But because we feel that family has to work, then we endure the pain. We try everything to fix and everything else. And I think that's where the crux is. And in my case, one of my mottos is accept the things that you cannot change. And it's difficult. We always throw these things around, right? But it's very difficult with your own family members. And in my situation, I've had to let go, to say, I've tried everything. It's a family member, I've tried everything, and I'm just going to cancel the person, because the person is not going to change. The person doesn't think that they have a problem. But I also feel for Nonhli, because in her case, it's a mother. Now that's something big. I can never even imagine, like, I don't think any of us here can even imagine that a mother could do that to you, because mothers are always great people and all of that. But I think getting to a place where you can say, it's not about me. I cannot fix this person. I have to accept what I cannot change and then work on yourself. But it's gonna need a lot of work from you, Nonhli, and professionals, and then get to a point where it's a happy place, because also you have boys to raise that are looking up to you, that are feeling your pain, that are walking this journey with you. Yeah, so that's all I have wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Disebo. Nonhli, I don't want you to be engaging you, but I want you to unmute just the last one before we have 5 minutes, maybe to give an opportunity. I just want to address a few things, maybe 1 or 2 things with Tidi before we can leave. So are you hopeful for the journey ahead of walking and detaching?
I have no choice, actually, because I need to heal in order for my kids also to heal. Because, to be honest, it's sour in the house, and not that we don't love each other, but once we start talking about my mom, it becomes really sour. And yesterday I had to talk to my son and say, you know what, just let go of that car. Just let go, make peace with it. And yeah, let's just ask the lawyer to send her a letter that it's fine, take the car, but just know that it's done between us. And you know the funny thing, my 14-year-old has never slept at home, but is 10 minutes away. My kids are really scared of her. My 14-year-old maybe saw my mom in his lifetime, maybe 20 times or less than 20 times. And I'm not joking. It's how she traumatizes everybody. So we all need to heal. We went for a session as a family, and we'll still go as a family. Because you know what, we don't realize such things, they will affect their future, their relationships. And that is something that I don't want. I remember my firstborn once said about 10 years ago that he thinks he's a narcissist. I said, that's the worst thing that you can say. You're not going to take after my mother. I grew up with a narcissist, and it was really unhealthy for me. And you're not going to do that. And really, he changed, because I think he realized, and we spoke about it, we talk about it. But guys, and we must really refrain from also criticizing people that, like me, living with a narcissist, that it's your mother, you have to understand, because you just don't know what I'm going through. It has affected my health. So just because you've got a good relationship with your mom doesn't mean everybody's got a good relationship with them. I endured hell for more than 35 years. And I promise I'm going to try and walk away and heal, because I can feel that I'm really suffering. I've got ulcers, my back is killing me, I've got cancer. The worst part is she screamed in court last year that I'm lying, I don't even have the fucking cancer. So I'm just saying, let's refrain. This is a conversation. Don't judge, because you don't know what a person is going through. That is why people end up committing suicide and all that. If you don't want to be involved, don't be involved, but don't judge.
Yeah. Yep. It's a conversation, and really the sensitivity around when it involves those that are closest to us, and how we have a person has navigated the streets of living with the conditions, the situation, the circumstances that they are. It really, she is the authority in telling you that this is my lived experience. No matter how eloquent or how beautiful I can come with angles that I think can work, or that idealistic family relations that I have in my head, they don't happen in such situations. Different strokes for different folks. She chose the journey of therapy and speaking out, and then let's see the journey unfolds. It will have its challenges. If maybe she needs to reroute and realize that she should have taken a better one, then we can talk from there. Tebogo, I'm going to allow you, and then we have a minute before we close. Tebogo, you can take the virtual stage.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone. Ish, I'm so taken aback with this thing, Nonhlanhla. But I heard you saying that your kids are so scared of your mom. You see, when it starts looking like that, I would really, really recommend my sister that you really continue with therapy and get to that place where you make that conscious decision. You need to make a conscious decision to cut the cord and let mama be and let go of her, because as soon as you do that, maybe you will start seeing a difference in your life. The more you try to engage and reason and find the reason why this is happening, it's not gonna change, because that's just who mama is. Unfortunately, protect your kids, Nonhlanhla, protect them. Once you cut the cord with your mom, cut the cord from mama, because she can do anything and everything in her power to manipulate them against you, just so she can still get to you, and just so she can still be around your in your space, in your space, and be able to manipulate anything, any energy that is around you. I did that with my kids. I do not regret it. I told my kids what had happened. They could see for themselves what their father was like. And years later, my kids they love themselves. They found peace, and they were not actually that much terribly affected because we did therapy, all of us. So I would really advise that take care of your kids, not that they come first.
Thank you. Thank you. Tim. And Sidi, the last one, should we really have sympathy for these people who have a narcissistic personality disorder? Because an argument could be made that because of the way symptoms present, make it difficult for us to remember that they have a disorder or a mental health disorder. Should we be sympathetic?
I think, in all honesty, we are human beings and we make mistakes, but we need to take responsibility and accountability for our own wrongdoings. One way that I can be able to forgive you is if you own up. So ownership is important. How would you move on if somebody is not owning up and also taking into account the fact that they have wronged you? Because at the core of it is that they lack empathy. And if somebody were to say to you that you lack empathy, it means you do not put other people's feelings, other people's thoughts, emotions, beliefs, values into consideration. In other words, you will forever crush them. They are non-existent in as far as your world is concerned. So how do you forgive those kind of people? Because at the end of it all, they will forever carry on. They will forever move on with these kind of issues. And it's also a cycle that has been perpetuated, because I'm sure if we were to dig deeper into Mama's psyche and why she behaves the way that she does, there's a history somewhere, but she is not choosing to do anything with it. So for her, it's the power that she is going to forever seek, forever protect, forever, because she's entitled in all aspects. So for me, I do not think that it's easier to forgive somebody that obviously does not acknowledge their own wrongdoings. However, you as a recipient, you have a responsibility. You own your own life. I cannot own Mama's life. Therefore, Nonhli has the power, Nonhli has the responsibility to heal, because if she does not do so, she is going to find herself trapped in a mental work, because one of the research also shows that the rate at which the manipulation manifests can also affect your frontal lobe, your cortex, the brain functioning, where you end up, forgetting things, where you are not the person that you are meant to be, because you are forever frightened. You are forever scared of this person. Therefore, if Nonhli cannot do it for herself, she needs to also realize that her kids are also in line. Therefore, she needs to take a U-turn and be able to say to herself, I love my mother, as Pastor Ray will always say, love them, but love them at a distance. And I said that to Nonhli, and I shared information with her about, the importance of relations, the circle of friends, and you need to heal. Healing is a key that Nonhli has to open so many other doors. And the fact that we think that mothers are just the ones who gave birth to us, it's a fallacy. We also have mothers that we have been introduced to, mothers we find from our friendships, mothers, we find in church, mothers we find at work. So just because somebody has not labored you for 9 months does not mean they can never mother you. There are mothers out there who do not have biological children, but are doing a fantastic job. Nonhli has a circle of friends that are supporting her to the core. Nonhli has a wonderful family structure. The boys are there. Therefore, Nonhli needs to now start also as part of healing. Start a gratitude journal, Nonhli, where you start acknowledging the very little things in your life, the things that, make so much sense in your life. The fact that, you have beaten your cancer, that on its own, it's not even a little, it's a big achievement. You need to forever feed yourself with positivity all the time, writing in your journal, writing self-care, self-love kind of messages in your journal, where you will realize that you have the capacity to be the greatest human being that God has created you to be, because your mother, at the end of it all, she's scared of the power that Nonhli has. That's why she treats Nonhli the way that she does. I'm sorry, Nonhli, I'm saying it in a crude form. However, it is the truth.
Yeah. Thank you so much, CD. And Nonhli, there are well wishes from people. And I believe it's those well-meaning people that are saying their support structure, they might be far, but they are holding the space for you to say, you can detach, you can do the work. It's not going to be an easy thing because you have that longing when you hear people talk about their mothers who are wonderful, who are glorious and everything. But I think it's a journey that you are capable of taking regarding the people who surround you and your children. I think they will benefit greatly, not from you loving them only, from you showing strength and the resolve to create a better mother for them, because through them you grow also as a person. Sidi, thank you so much for putting this into perspective and being really just breaking it down for everybody who has joined. We really appreciate your time and your well of knowledge regarding the sensitivity that we need to practice around the labeling, the taking care of ourselves, and also embarking on a journey. Thank you so much, and good night to everyone. And Nonhli, we are still available for you. We will grow through walking the journey with you too.
I just wanted to
thank
say
you so much,
thank you
Nonhli.
to everybody. Thank you, TD, and thank you, everybody. Next week, I think we'll touch a bit on this because there's a lot of things that we still need to touch on, and sibling rivalry, because it's also something that I need to speak about next week, Wednesday. And thank you so much, CD. I really appreciate it, and I promise I'm going to work on myself.
Great.
Okay, you're welcome.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay,
Thank you,
bye.
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 Bye.